What would Humboldt think about our modern universities? Wilhelm von Humboldt was a pioneering philosopher and statesman who, in the early 19th century, articulated a vision for universities that emphasized the unity of teaching and research, freedom of inquiry, and the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake.
I like to call this the promise that Wilhelm von Humboldt has given us. The university should not just be the consultant for the political goals of the day. They should be left to do, their thing, Wissenschaft, science and higher education. And if they're able to do that, they will be able to work on societal problems from a very different perspective.
Humboldt's promise was that if you leave universities to foster intellectual growth without external pressures, they'll ultimately produce a greater contribution to society through discoveries and enlightenment. And this was a unique institutional role that universities occupied. After the Second World War, however, views on the role of the university began to shift. The devastation of war and the subsequent need for economic recovery propelled academia towards external social, cultural, and economic pursuits in public and private enterprises, or what's known as the third mission of universities.
A subclass of that is entrepreneurship or innovation. You come up with new technology, you come up with new products, and you introduce that to society or to the economy, like an entrepreneur.
The idea that universities could bridge the gap between research and entrepreneurship became viewed as an important function of how universities contribute to society. However, it also gave rise to pessimistic concerns about academic capitalism.
When you interact with businesses, when you're are involved in setting up companies, when there's a lot of money involved, there are dangers that these kinds of interests have an influence on your research agenda, on your teaching agenda, on the kinds of collaborations that you enter.
In recent years, there has been an increased focus on the university's role in addressing urgent global challenges, such as climate change, inequality, and sustainability. And this is reflected in how science and research projects are selected and funded.
So the European Union has actually adopted this mission-oriented framework in the last years. There you have missions like 100 carbon-neutral cities, I think by the year 2030, and other ambitions are for mobility, food systems, etc. It sparks inspiration. People can get behind that. Different kinds of organizations and activities can orient themselves towards these concrete goals. And you can't wiggle yourself out of it if you fail to achieve them.
Universities are now seen as key players in addressing the grand challenges of our time. They are tasked with not just producing knowledge, but with directly contributing to societal missions. So what would be the problem with a mission-oriented concept of the university?
Universities can have and should have, a much more deeply reflexive capacity in society to also question those very pursuits and question the concepts that guide societal missions and so on. I think what's interesting is going back to these conceptions of the university or conceptions of these actors and rethinking them in the light of reforming and reconceptualizing our innovation systems.
Rethinking the institutional role of technical universities and finding tools to enhance their transformative potential are key research areas within the BoostEuroTeQ project. How do we allow the university to remain relevant in the economic and political pursuits of society while holding on to their unique institutional role in the pursuit of knowledge? How do we keep Humboldt's promise?
The answer that BoostEuroTeQ has worked on is to focus on co-creation teaching. One big worry for many around is that we in society live in our silos. We are too much caught in our own systems, in the policy silo, or in the business talk, or in the university ivory tower. In order to address real problems, real societal challenges, it is insufficient to let those silos work on these problems, but we need somehow to overcome those silos, work together and co-create.
The BoostEuroTeQ project aims to learn how universities can effectively upscale co-creation teaching, by investigating existing practices at EuroTeQ universities and developing strategies for institutionalizing them across the Alliance. Find out more about the roadmap for co-creation teaching and policy recommendations for enhancing co-creation in engineering education.